Now listen, I made it no secret this year in Madden 25 that cover 3 match is my favorite coverage to base out of because it is so different than what most players tend to run out there, which is primarily a cover 4 switch stick zone based defense. With everybody prepping their offense to attack the cover 4, the matching qualities of seam flats on whip routes or by the hook curls on post routes or corner routes has been so nice to use this year. However, that doesn't mean that cover 3 match is completely unstoppable. In fact, there are 2 routes that are very, very good at beating this coverage for a 1-play score, and I have to be careful with this coverage if my opponent shows that they're willing to call them. So in today's video, I'm going to show you guys what my plan is when I run cover 3 match and how I adjust out of it to make sure that I can stay in this style of defense, but be prepared to stop those routes that a lot of players go to for those 1-play scores. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, get out your pen and notepad, and let's get after it. So the tip within the tip here is that the seam flat zone found in a cover 3 match style defense, which is these pink zones that you see here on this play, they are really, really good at defending whips, corners, posts, and pivot routes, which are the most popular routes in Madden 25. But a lot of players do like to run a couple of 1-play touchdown routes that give this coverage a lot of trouble. So I'm going to show you guys these routes here. The first route is the route that is in the middle of this trips here. This is called the fade smash route. And this route will fry a seam flat defender up top for a touchdown because the seam flat plays a technique of match or man coverage within this zone-based defense where he's going to play a down and outside shade. Well, that's going to put him too low to basically react to this route. And if you're patient, you're going to see that this route will fry him up top for the 1-play score. All you got to do is just pass lead this up. Now, I do tend to keep deep zone KO on this defender. So that way, when I do face this route, sometimes I get a lucky knockout from behind. But you see right here that we're at the end of the year in MUT. And if you guys play regs, obviously there's speed discrepancies where you can gain a speed advantage on whoever's guarding you. We're just not going to be able to consistently rely on that ability to bail us. And then of course, the other route that can give us seam flat trouble is a wheel pattern. And a lot of good Madden players will basically go to this concept where they just have these slot receivers on hot route wheels, and then they'll just put posts on the outside. And this is also a great way to bomb the cover 3 match for a 1-play score. You'll see that both sides of the field are 1-play scores as we had a choice to go left or right. So how do I stay in this defense when it's my favorite, but players are catching on how to defeat it? Well, this is where we actually decide to run a modification of match coverage that we're going to run out of quarters, believe it or not. So a lot of players don't know this, but you can actually change quarters to play cover 3 match rules. In order to do this, I'm going to try to explain the rules of hook zones within this, because that's going to be the best way for you guys to understand what they do. So I'm going to real quick just call cover 3 match, and I'm going to show you how they negotiate the inside most receiver in a trips look. So we're talking about Jimmy Graham here in this example. The hook curl that is on the trip side of the formation basically matches anything vertical and outside, while the hook curl that is to the inside of that route matches anything that is vertical and inside. So once we know what our opponent's tendencies are here, this is what makes this such a good defense, because I can, for instance, in this example, defend a flood combo that so many players will call, which is basically a streak, a corner, and a whip route, where the seam flat defends the whip, but then we have the match on the corner route from this hook zone, and they just can't throw flooding concepts. So I love cover 3 match for this exact reason. But then when our opponent decides, you know what, I'm gonna run a flood over the middle, crossing routes, post routes, verticals with that inside receiver running across the formation, you see here that Urlacher actually matches it and shuts it down instead of the other hook. So those 2 zones are wonderful because they neutralize that player. And then the really cool part about it is with so many players that like to run verticals, so I don't have it in my audibles, but I'll just kind of mimic it here real quick. You basically get this type of combo right here where you have this vertical, and then a crossing route and the running back goes under. Well, the cool thing about this is that when players do this, you're going to see that the hook on the right is going to take Graham and the hook on the left is going to jump the running back. Now, the running back got hung up out of the backfield here, but you could very much see that the hook curl defender on this side of the field, because his guy went inside, all of a sudden says, you know what, what's crossing the field from the other side? He knows that this running back is trying to come his way. Now you can't really see him, he's right there, but you can see that Sean Taylor in this hook curl is running to match him. And this is what makes this cover 3 match so good. So I wanted to explain that hook curl rule for this defense, because we're going to really adjust this up here out of something completely different, which is cover 4 quarters, but actually it's going to be palms, and I'm going to explain why here momentarily. But before I do, make sure you guys are also checking out my strategy website, gridirongameplan.gg. What I'm about to teach you right now is something that has been on the website since all the way back in September. These hybrid match style coverages that I teach so often on the website are the difference between winning and losing games at the highest level. I always tell people, if you can count to 4, you can play match coverage. And then we just have to know the responsibilities of each defender within that, which tells us who to use her, and also allows us to kind of mix and match our cover 4 and cover 3 match styles and utilize the quarter flat instead of the seam flat, or inside quarters instead of hook zones to match routes effectively. You're going to see why here momentarily, but if you guys want the rest of the story, make sure you guys go check out my match game plan, check out my 1-4 defensive game plan, bunch tight end game plan, weekly updated vault content, Discord, lab sessions, you name it, it's all included for $9.95 a month. Go check it out. Best deal in the tip space, link in the description. So we're going to call cover 3 match out of cover 4 palms, and we're going to have to make some modifications to this, but it's going to make sense here momentarily. So take a look at this here. When we start off with this coverage, what we're going to do is we're going to explain how palms operates. When we play palms, palms is a coverage where the quarter flat defender has a similar role as a seam flat defender would in a cover 3 match. So you see, you have the ability to hot route a seam flat. You don't actually have the ability to hot route a quarter flat. Hopefully that's something they add next year, because that would be awesome. But what a quarter flat is not weak against that a seam flat is that wheel or that fade smash route that you see here to Cordero Patterson. So when we go back to this particular coverage here, what we're going to do is when we snap this ball, look at how this quarter flat stays on top of that route. And it's impossible for it to get up over the top. This is what we're looking at here with this, where it's not wide open. Your opponent cannot throw this over the top for the 1-play score. Now, unfortunately, on the back end of this coverage, we still have cover 4 rules, namely this outside corner, which plays man-to-man on this guy no matter what. And I don't really want that in this particular defense. Although there are going to be some situations when people run certain route combos where an outside third might match this. What I would prefer is for the outside third to get back in most cases to help out this quarter flat zone and give it kind of that bracket over the top. The other thing I don't particularly like about this is how we're handling the third receiver in trips. Now, in palms, the safety is the one that matches it. So it doesn't matter if it runs a corner or it runs a post. All of that responsibility falls on the safety over the top for this coverage. And I would rather have the hook zones that we're handling it, where one takes the outside breaks and one takes the inside breaks. So now we kind of understand what we want from the cover 4 palms. It's the quarter flat is what we need. So let's go ahead and put this to work. So we come out in cover 4 palms, and we suspect a fade smash route. We're going to modify this coverage. So we're going to take the outside corner, put him into an outside third. We're going to take the trip side safety, put him into an inside third. We are going to then go ahead and take our linebackers and put them into hook curls. We can do this by doing a couple of things. We can individually put them into hook curls, or we can go ahead and do what's called a global blitz, global zone. To do this, you're going to hit right on the D-pad, right stick down to blitz them both. And then you're going to hit right on the D-pad, right stick up to rezone them. And this is going to place them into hook curls. Now, this is where our cover 3 match gets a little bit wonky, or this modification gets a little bit wonky. To be totally honest with you, I do still want someone responsible for the running back on the backside of this coverage. So another option that you have afforded to you is to, instead of global blitz, global zone, you could leave the quarter flat defender here in this role. And what we'll instead do is take this linebacker on the trip side and put him into a hook curl to take the inside receiver breaking out. And then we're going to take the backside safety in this coverage and put him into the other hook curl, which then makes it so we have the 2 hook curls. And then this basically looks like a cover 3. You can still go ahead and put this guy into an outside third if you want to. That's your prerogative. But when you take a look at this play art, we have flipped our cover 4 palms into a cover 3 match. Now, why is that important? So we've already explained that the quarter flat in palms handles the fade smash route or the wheel to that second receiver, but we want to have the ability to go with the 2 hook zones in cover 4 palms to be able to handle that inside receiver. So we know that if he goes outside, you're going to see the hook on the left side match into the sideline. But if he goes inside, you're going to see the other hook, Urlacher, basically turn into match on him. And we can still play kind of a version of palms mixed with cover 3 match in this regard. So again, this is a little bit complicated in the way that we're going to set this up, but essentially we're playing palms where we have the outside corner in a third instead. We leave our quarter flat. We take our safety over the top of everything, put him in the inside third. So it's outside third, inside third, quarter flat. And then our 2 linebackers are in the hooks. And then on the other side of the field, we can do a number of different things. Now, I want to get to a specific thing that is very, very important as it pertains hook curls and matching behavior. Okay, so again, I know this is a very, very high level video. I hope that you guys are enjoying it. Again, if you guys want this all cleared up and super, super simple for you with main setups out of my favorite defense in the game, make sure you guys go to Gridiron. But I want to make sure that I leave you guys with an understanding that hooks only match if they have a matching flat on their side of the field. Okay, so one of the things that I recommend doing is you will have the quarter flat and the hook curl on the trip side. And then on the other side of the field, if you give up your seam flat or your quarter flat to change it to a hook curl, we have to do what's called a replacement. So what I'm going to do here is kind of show you that if I run cover 3 match, and in this particular defense, I decide I'm going to play the seam flat on the left, but then on the other side, we don't have a seam flat. Maybe I turn this guy into a hard flat. What you're actually going to see here is that Urlacher turns off within his match coverage. So if I do decide that I want to run this post route over the top to Graham, you're losing the match rule for Urlacher, and he doesn't follow him. So if I had a runoff route down the right sideline, that would have been wide open as it crossed the field. And the reason for that is that this player right here, whatever your seam flat or quarter flat defender is, if it's not one of those 2 pinkish zones, the deep zones and the hook zones on that side of the field lose their matching responsibility. So that's why Urlacher basically cheats over towards the trip side, but then just plays drop zone instead of converting into match. Meanwhile, over on the other side of the field in this cover 3, you see that we're playing match where we have the match on the seam vertically with a safety over the top in the middle. And then on this dig, you see that there's obviously match with the outside deep zone matching it across the field as well. So this whole idea of match, it is great if you have a pink zone on that side of the field. It turns every other zone, whether it's a hook or a deep zone, into matching responsibility. So when we go back to our quarters call or our palms call in this regard against this trips, we're using the quarter flat to protect against the wheel or the fade smash route. But then we have to understand that if we made any type of crazy modifications to the backside, the 2 receiver side, the running back and the solo receiver, let's say we get rid of our purple zone on that side of the field, that pinkish zone, we have to replace it. Okay, so this is why you might decide to leave Urlacher in the quarter flat so that we can still play a hook curl defender at safety in this with a hook curl defender here. This essentially activates both of these guys as, because we have a matching flat on both sides of the field, it turns all of the other zones on their side of the field into match as well. So Blackman now gets hook curl matching rules against trips, which means he needs to cheat over towards the trip side. You get the quarter flat rule of Urlacher, which is a cover 4 matching rule. He basically ends up, for all intents and purposes, matching the running back no matter what he does. So that's important as well. And then of course, this outside third, Moss, he has special rules within cover 3 as well as cover 4. If I were to leave him as a cover 4 player, he's actually going to match the solo receiver. So if I were to run something kind of goofy here, you'll actually see everything kind of play out where we're getting these hybrid matching rules. And, you know, you see right here, it basically played cover 4 to the backside, and then it played a modification of a cover 3 match to the front side of the formation. So it is a little wonky, but it is such a great tool, namely in that we are using this to defend against one of the most problematic routes in the game. But this video has gotten super long. I apologize to my editor for having to chop this up. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you guys give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Until then, this is Zan. Get in the lab and good luck.